Same house, same 20% down payment. One loan gets denied, the other loan gets approved. We're going to go over an example of using short-term rental income in comparison to long-term rental income. Lenders really mainly concerned on the actual rents, whether it be short-term rents or long-term rents. We're ideally looking for a 1 DSCR ratio. Again, this is where the rent completely covers the mortgage payment. Rent divided by the PITI payment, right? Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and then adding an HOA if applicable. So the property I picked out on Zillow is 1022 East Wesleyan Drive in Tempe, Arizona. Purchase price, we did 522, which is the current asking price. We're going to assume 20% down and a 6.5 interest rate for the time being. So first, we got to figure out what our payment's going to be. So with $150 home insurance and then about $191 for taxes, we're estimating the total PITI payment at $29.90, right? So we have to add HOA, we have to add anything. Every component of the payment is going to have to be included in this ratio. So first, we figured out what the payment is. Second, we're going to start comparing the long-term rents versus the short-term rents. We're going to start off by comparing the long-term rents. So we used housecanary.com to estimate what the projected long-term rents would be. We're going to run with $25.15, which is what we found online from House Canary. So we're going to divide the monthly rent by that total mortgage payment, $29.90, and we're going to get a 0.84 DSCR ratio. Of course, that's not good. We want to be above a 1 DSCR ratio. So we're setting ourselves up to get denied in underwriting if we're going to purchase this property as a long-term rental. We've now analyzed the long-term rents. Let's take a look at the short-term rents. So we have $54,800 for short-term rents per AirDNA.com if we're to come in exactly at the projection. So we're going to divide that monthly figure, right? We always have to convert it into monthly form. 4566 is now going to be our gross monthly rent. We're going to divide that number by 29.90, our PITI payment, and that's going to give us a total ratio of 1.53, which is an awesome ratio. Occasionally, a more strict lender wants to see a 1.25 DSCR ratio for short-term rental property. So this property, if that lender is going to use the AirDNA, which usually they will, this is a pretty easy approval. Even if the rents come back a little bit lower on a 1007 rent schedule, if they're using short-term rent comp. So we just took a look here. Short-term rents came in 1.53. Long-term rents came in at 0.84. So pretty drastic difference. Almost twice as high of a DSCR ratio buying as a short-term side compared to the long-term side. The cool thing about this long-term rent versus short-term rent comparison that we just analyzed is literally nothing changed in these examples other than the method that the lender is calculating that rental income. So with it being a much higher ratio on the short-term rental side, it opens you up for higher leverage. So now maybe instead of 20% down, some lenders will occasionally allow for 15% down. If you're buying that house as a long-term rental property, instead of 15% down, like the Airbnb side, you're now looking at as much as 25% down to be able to find that one-to-one DSCR ratio. If they require you to use the 1007 for long-term rents, every lender is going to handle this a little bit differently than the next. If you have a particular house in mind that you want to pursue, please shoot me the property address. We can analyze the numbers together, let you know what the minimum down payment requirement would be based off your profile, based off that property itself. And my name is Austin. I'm your DSCR loan expert. I'm also a short-term rental owner and operator myself. Any questions you have, please drop me a message or shoot me a comment.